Okay, hello everybody. I think I'll do just a live, Memorial Day video. There's nothing particular. I didn't check all the news. It's just a little update too. I saw some of my friends today. There was an interesting experience today. There's a little spot where the guys hang out, the homeless guys. And I had my motorcycle, so I kind of pulled up there. And sure enough, a couple of my other friends showed up. Furman, actually, I think he wanted to do a video today, and sometimes he doesn't like doing that. It's a new phone, so I got a new camera. I got to get used to it. But we talked. We had a good talk. A few other homeless guys showed up, and it's by like a business that went out of business, the mattress store here in Flower Bluff. And there was nothing wrong. And then I noticed a couple of cops just were driving by back and forth because, it's a busy intersection. And then one cop had just kind of walked, nothing wrong, but he walked like by us, being nice, then kind of walked around the corner and walked back. And the guys were asking, I wonder what he's looking for. I said, maybe he's looking for somebody. But it just struck me a little strange. Why didn't they stop to, just tell the guys, which they normally do, you guys can't hang out here. And then another one pulled into the parking lot. And then two of them came out, and they were very nice. They said, guys, you can't be sitting. And I was talking to Furman. There's about 4 or 5 people. I said, oh, that's all right. We're going to go down to, Brother Dave's going to feed. We're going down to the park. And then they did nothing wrong. And then I just thought, maybe for some reason they didn't want to come up to us. Because maybe I was sitting there. Because it just seemed strange. They were nice, but it took them a while before they said what was fine to say, which is you guys can't be hanging out here. So then later I thought of that. I said, oh, if everybody does their jobs in society, that's okay. But let me do something on Memorial Day. I'm going to, a quick update too. I'm going to be posting some of the past studies I did, and I realized that a lot of these are already on the websites. I'm not going to add a lot of new things to the old studies, but just go through them as I post them. And then I'll have text and video. And these are some of the main New Testament books that we learn, really the heart of Christianity, all right? I'm going to go through the letters that I taught these last few years, and then and of course I have our regular teaching that I do, which will still continue. All right, I never check messages. This has to do with Memorial Day. I never check messages on Facebook and then the other day I just looked how many comments. There were some that were months and months, 5, 7 months old. And I'm sure people might get offended, like, hi, John, or are you so-and-so? And I thought, oh, I'm surprised they didn't unfriend me by now, because, it's not I ignore people, I just don't check messages. But I did the other day, one of the rare occasions. And I had an interesting message from an Italian lady from New Jersey. And then I looked at her site, and she speaks Italian, writes in Italian, but also writes in English. And now I forget the name, but it was, hello, my name is such and such. And she says, I like to find family trees, like which your line, she said, and I'm not sure if you're interested. It was months old message. And it said, but if I have it correct, your name is John, your father was Albert Chiarello. And his father was Amadeo. Now, I never met my father's father. And I never knew the history because my dad wouldn't tell me. But my grandfather from my mother's side one time, many, many years ago, He said, you know, your dad's dad, John, was an alcoholic, and he used to beat the kids. He was abusive. That's my father's father, who I never met. So this nice message said, your father's real father was Amadeo, which was correct. And she said, he also had other children, which I believe is correct, and that she is one of them, I believe. But she went down the line, the family line, which is a whole part of that family that, of course, I never knew of. And I told her, I just sent her a nice message back, and said thank you. I said I very rarely talked, but she knew the family line. And my father's oldest brother was Bruno, who I also never met. And his younger brother was Rudy, who I did know, Uncle Rudy, who passed away some years ago. But I never met my father's father, and I never met my father's older brother, because he fought in World War II, and he was a bomber pilot in World War II, Bruno. And then he was a prisoner of war during World War II. He was held prisoner of war. But after the war, of course, came back to the States. And he was a few years older than my father. My father told me a story one day. My Italian grandma, I called her Nonna. Of course, she has passed away years ago. And he said, you know, John, one day we were at our house, and I think it was in New Jersey. It might have been Newark at that time, but this was all New Jersey area. And they got a knock on the door. And they said, Bruno, who was the prisoner of war, who was released, came back to the United States. He just died in a plane crash in the Hackensack River. When he came back to the United States, being he was a pilot, he got a job working for some private funeral home owner, and he hired him as his private pilot to fly him back and forth. And they were taken off from the Hackensack River. You're more familiar with the Hudson River, but the Hackensack is one that we used to fish in, catch crabs as kids. It's right in that area. And there was a pontoon plane coming down, and it just hit the top of my uncle, who I never met, Bruno, plane. They all died. My father said he was young now. I forget, maybe 12 or 13 when that happened. And he said they were like stunned because he survived dropping bombs during World War II, fighter pilot, being held captive, came back, survived all that, and died in that manner. And that girl that messaged me, of course, Bruno was in the family line. Today I had some veteran friends, and I remembered, I said, man, if I did a video earlier, there was a bunch of friends around. I remember whenever we do it on Memorial Day, I normally try to do the regular thing that we should do, is to remember those who died. And we honor those who died. But then I usually always also say, and any time we lost any of our sons or daughters in a war, as tragic as that is, the way this world operates, oftentimes we also hide the tragedy of the loss of innocent life, whether it's in this side or the other side of the world. When there's innocent life taken, that's a tragedy. And oftentimes in our country, we rightfully today honor those who died. And then we also look at, were people historically making decisions? And those decisions were wrong decisions. and cause the loss of life. Right before I turn the phone on, I'm listening to, of course, just not news, but the last 5 minutes of would have normally have been a new show, but on Memorial Day, that patterns changes on radio, and it was something for the wounded warriors, which of course we want to do when we want to contribute and help. And very rarely do we really say, now, why did my son die? If it was a just, noble, and righteous cause. But we live in a time in our country right now where if you could dress up respectability, whether you say, you know, I'm a Democrat, I'm a Republican, regardless, but at least Mr. Bush, at least he presented himself correctly, some people would say. Or at least Mr. Obama, or whoever. At least they presented themselves in a distinguishable way. And granted, many of them also would have blood on their hands. And I can go down the list. For times where the lives of our people died and the lives of others died on things that were not just to kill for. But we seem to say, as long as they looked noble in their decree, and that's a test that we're going through, because then we look at a man that many people say, it's just the way he is. We could live with the bad decisions of war, or we could live with the bad decisions that cause the loss of life of our children, that in some of them were political decisions. But we could live with that, because at least they presented themselves correct. I think they have blood on their hands. George Bush, the so-called revered president. So we remember those who died. And then we also, in their memory, we ask questions. We then later say, wait a minute, you mean when my son went and died over there? Then later we found out it was a lie. It was over something that was nothing besides the others that died over there. And then we should also, in honor of the fallen, we should ask those questions and say, no, you don't escape just because you did it in a dignified manner. That's what we should ask. So this would be the Memorial Day. I'll probably upload some videos later. I don't mean to blast everybody with all the videos. Look, I'm getting as many on these different sites, okay? Everybody has limited time. So God bless everybody.